Hello everybody, welcome to the Precon tier list yearly thing, and there are so many Precons from this last year that it's gonna be just crazy. There are so many already, but there's so many from this last year, and it's just bonkers. So let's see where they fit. But first, let's determine which ones I need to move, which ones I need to update. Let's see. Okay, so Teferi, Archmage, whatever, the blue Precon from 2014. I'm actually going to bump him up to B tier. He's actually been pretty, I don't know, he used to be a pretty good CDH commander, and there's a lot of decks built around him. He's really cool. He's definitely not the best blue mono blue color commander, but he is actually really good. Let's see, are there any more that I want to move? I think the Precons for the Kamigawa stuff had just barely come out, or were about to come out when I did the last one. But I think Kotori needs to move down a tier. She's very cool, but I think most people swapped for Shurikai, I think that's his name, the big robot that I think came in that deck. They just kind of swapped the commander, and it runs better. So Genesis Engine guy, it draws you cards and makes you pilots and does all sorts of stuff. Kotori's really cool, and I really like her. But I think the Shurikai Genesis Engine was a little bit better, and so I'm bumping her down a tier. I think most everybody else is in a pretty good spot from what I can see. I don't know. What do you guys think? Oh, I was going to switch this Gavu. I'm going to bring him down a tier as well, because I think Gave is, I don't know, there's some really good commanders, and I think there's really good Abzan commanders now, or even partners, that are definitely better than Gavu, Gava. Anyway, it's pretty good, but I think there's some better stuff. Okay. So let's go to Streets of New Capenna. Those are the first Precons that came out this last year. And I'm just going to preface these Precons with, I think just about everybody swapped all the commanders for the secondary commanders in these. I don't know how many people actually kept these, because I know Kitt Kanto, I think everybody swapped her for the big cat devil commander from the set. I don't know. She's cool, she's great, but I think there are better choices, and I think everybody was right in picking the big fat commander cat. I built that one. It's very cool. I thoroughly enjoy him, because what was kind of bad about Kitt was that, let's get a closer up picture. She makes a citizen when she enters, and then beginning in combat, you can tap 2 untapped creatures you control, and then a creature player gets 2/2 and trample, and then you goad that creature, so you can kind of goad other people's creatures. I don't know, but you can only do it, you can do it on each combat for everybody's turn, but I'd rather have the citizen thing. I built mine like a citizen way, where the more creatures you have, the better they get, and I think that's what people liked better. I think she's a neat idea, but I don't think she did very well. I'm going to actually put her down in, I don't know. It's like one thing a turn. So it's meh. I'm going to put her D tier. I don't think she's the absolute worst. I don't know. Maybe she's F tier. Because it's you goad one thing a turn, so it can't attack you. But you really have to play that in a 4-player game. If you're a 3-player game, that's, I don't know. It's a little divisive, but anyway, she's a cool creature though. Angelo the Painter, Death Touch, first instance or sorcery you cast each turn has casualty 2. I personally do not like the casualties and the Obscura one, whatever that one was, the Connive. There's too many words. I can't ever remember any of this stuff, and I think a lot of people swapped these because of that. But I think Angelo is really cool, where the first thing you cast, you can sack a creature with power 2 or greater, and then copy that spell. So that's a really cool idea again. But I think he got swapped out for the big. All of these got swapped out for the big devils or demons that headed each faction. And so I think he's really cool. But I just wish he did more, you know. I don't know what else he could do more, but I think it's really cool. You can copy your spells once. But I think there's better things. But I do think he's pretty cool. So I don't know, all of these are hard. But like, you do have to have a creature to sacrifice. So there's that. So that's a little hard. I'm going to put him in D tier. I don't know. He's cool. But again, I think based on all the Precon stuff, I think there are cooler things. I don't know. Maybe I'll put him to C tier because you can copy something for more or less free. Oh, it's hard. Okay. Hensy, Toolbox, Torre. Again, got swapped. This one actually, I think, got swapped more for the Beamtown Bullies, which I think is pretty cool. I really like those things. Not my playstyle at all. I think Blitz was pretty neat. But I don't know. Maybe it's just his Precon was kind of boring. I don't know. It wasn't as fun as the others, I think. I think giving all your creatures Blitz is pretty cool, and then they cost less for every time Hensy dies, basically, which I think is kind of cool. But he's not that scary to me, because it's like, oh, they get this big creature with haste, and then it dies. So I'm like, he's not that scary, so he's probably not going to be cast as much as you might think, and he's kind of silly. Really cool idea again. But again, I'm going to put him down here in D tier. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But you can get some big creatures out pretty fast and pretty fun. Those creatures immediately die, so then you're going to have to like really cycle through stuff. And it might take a second. Again, swap that for the bigger demon in that faction. Perry the Pulverizer. I really like Perry. He's really cool. The shield counters are pretty neat. Whenever he attacks a creature you control against trample and XX, where X is number of kind of counters among permanents you control. I think he's very similar to Arabo, 2017 Cat Commander, in that you can buff up one creature, which is pretty cool. So Perry can kind of do the whole Voltron thing if you want, kind of like Arabo. You know, he's got a shield counter on it, so that's kind of cool. But again, he's built around counters too, but he doesn't feel like he's he's really strong, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't feel that commandery. He feels like he could be in the 99 and he's going to swing and give your commander or something else, some like really big. Plus he has to attack. So I don't know. He's, again, another really cool one, but he's definitely much better in the 99. I'm going to put him D tier. Where did I put Arabo, actually? I'm going to put him with Arabo because they're pretty darn similar in that way. Kamiz, Obscura, Oculus. Everybody bought that, immediately swapped it for the Sphinx in that deck, and just connived like crazy. Again, I think connive is way too complicated, and there's too many words. Like, look at all the words on here. To do this, you got to do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. It was the same with Explore. There were too many words with Explore, and it didn't really go far. I know they're really cool mechanics, and they work really well. Personally, I think they're a little too much. I don't know, a little bit too much for me to remember. Maybe just because I'm small brain, but whenever you attack, target attacking creature can't be blocked. So that's pretty neat. And then it connives, and then you choose another creature with lesser power, and then that creature gains double strike. There's just like too many words in this little thing. And so she's a little bit complicated. But again, this is another, maybe like a ninjutsu thing almost. Something can't be blocked. I don't know. And she doesn't have to attack herself. But so that's kind of neat. But again, the other guy can connive much better in a better and more efficient way. And this one does give double strike. I think she's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm going to put her up here with Angelo, I think. Because they're kind of efficient and they can be pretty deadly, especially with that unblockable clause. But again, I think the Sphinx is probably A tier because I've seen that one go off and it's crazy. Never seen anybody play Kamiz before because they just swapped it for the Sphinx. All right, moving on to dungeons in the Baldur's Gate, whatever it's called. Furcrag, Cunning Instigator. This is another precon that people they're like, oh, there's dragons in here? Take that, split it apart, put it into Dragon. Or what the Tiamat. Like everything gets split into the dragon decks. It's if you don't like that kind of thing, I had some ideas in another video I had with dragon decks. But this one's really interesting in that, you know, you've got this dragon flying in haste, and whenever one or more dragons you control attacks, you go to creature they control. Lots of goad going around this last year. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, you put a +1/+1 counter on Furcrag, and then you draw a card. I think he's neat. Yeah, I think he's a really cool idea, and I like that he fits really well in just another 5-color dragon deck. Again, this is another one that I think is a really, really cool idea, but he doesn't see as much play because people are so set on the 5-color dragon thing. It's just hard. I think Furcrag's pretty cool. He draws you cards, but your creatures do have to deal combat damage. But if you're dragons, then they're flying, so it's easier to hit. I don't know, and then he himself gets bigger, so that's kind of neat. I think I'm going to put Furcrag in C tier. In the grand scheme of things, C tier is pretty average. So like these are pretty good, decent commanders. And then there's below average, and then like, probably put that in the 99. So yeah, so that is pretty solid, pretty average, I think. Nalia Daernese, legendary human rogue. This is one of my favorite decks now. I've barely swapped anything in this deck, and I love it. She's so cool. Look at the top card of your library at any time. Cast clerics, rogues, warriors, and wizards. So your party members. Beginning of combat, if you have a full party, you put a counter on each, a +1/+1 counter on each of those, and then they all gain death touch. So you're just like getting all these cool little creatures out, and they all part of your party, and then you make them bigger, and then you have death touch, so it's harder to block them, or like, you know, it's just so cool, and I love it. I don't like white as much as the next person, but she's really cool. I really like her. You do have to have a full party, so if you don't have that full party, it just kind of flops on its face. But I think she's really cool. And it really does go off well. And if you have a bunch of changelings in the deck, it's like every single creature, boom, you got a full party, you know? And she counts as a rogue. So you cast her and then like 3 changelings and like, boom, you got the whole thing. And everything in the deck is super low CMC. So it goes really quick. And I really like her. She's super cool. And she just looks cool. I really like her. I'm going to put her up in A tier. Maybe that's just because I like her a lot. She just gets things going. Like the dragon dude, he doesn't really get things going. Kind of like doing other things with your dragons. So you almost have a split theme in that one, to where it's like you want to go to your other creatures, but you yourself also want to have other stuff. But Nalia she can help you cast your party members. She makes them bigger, and like she's one herself, and they gain death touch. Like she's just like the full package, and I think it's just so cool. Faldorn, Dreadwolf Herald. Whenever you cast your first spell from exile or a land enters under your control from exile, you create a 2/2 wolf, and then you can discard a card, exile top card of your library, and play it. So she's kind of her own engine. You exile something, and then you can play something, and then you make a wolf. So it's this cycle of stuff. Green helps you untap things a little bit more too. And then red gives you like a few more like card draw-y type, exile the top card and then play it. And then when you do that, you make a wolf. So she's a really cool idea, and I think she's executed pretty well. Yeah, she's got her own draw mechanics, and then makes wolves, and she's super cool. I haven't seen much play of her, but what I have seen, I've liked. I think I'm going to put her in A because she does do a lot that I think is very neat. And she can cycle through her own stuff, and then you get a bunch of wolves, and then you're like, I don't know, and then you swing, and it's cool. Anyway, Captain Ngathrod. He's a horror pirate. Horrors you control have menace, And whenever a horror you control deals combat damage to a player, that player mills that many cards. And at the beginning of your end step, choose an artifact or creature in an opponent's graveyard that was put there from the library this turn, and then put it on the battlefield under your control. This is a cool one because okay. Did any of you play the Planeswalker? I've got the deck check on my channel. I'll put it here. I can't for the life of me remember her name right now. My friend Austin built her deck. What is it? I can't remember her name. But she's black and blue, and she's a Planeswalker. And anyway, she does a little bit similar things where you're stealing stuff from other people. And I think Captain here is really cool with that. I'm saying cool a lot. But yeah, this is very, it's like the first horror commander, so that's really cool. And then if they deal combat damage, that player mills that many, and then you steal something from their graveyard. Oh, he's cool. It's just an all-in-one thing again. He's harder to block because he's a horror. And then he's just stealing stuff. I've seen him work really well. He's super cool. I think all those commander decks from the Baldur's Gate precons are really cool. Again, Daragaz is that a name? Daragaz? No, Furcrag. He's the other one, but I think he's the least interesting to me. I think there are better gold commanders, but I don't know. The rest of these are pretty top-notch commanders. I think they did really well with those. Next, we have Dominaria United. So Dejada is the first one here. Dejada is pretty cool. I really liked her precon. You give one of your legendary creatures Vigilance, Lifelink, and Indestructible for your next turn. So that's cool. Like everything in the deck is legendary, so it's super awesome. You can put any number of legendaries from among the cards in your hand, put the rest in your graveyard, and then create a treasure for each card put in your graveyard for her -3, and just get all those legends out, and then -11, gain control of all non-land permanents until end of turn, and then they gain haste, and untap them, gain haste. I think Mardu is really cool. There's cool again. I keep saying cool. But the legendary theme is really awesome, and there's so many legendary creatures in these colors alone, especially with this last year, that everything you drop is just boom, legend, boom, legend, boom, legend, and there's a lot of legends that are fairly cheap in these colors, and then you're just making them bigger, and then you can filter through and gain more, and then if you do so happen to ult Dejada, you gain control of everything, and then just swing for the win, and oh my gosh, it's so cool. Dejada's awesome. For like one of these Planeswalker commanders, she's pretty cool. I want to put Dejada up in A tier as well, kind of with the Saheeli and Estrid kind of in here. All of these three Planeswalkers really do their theme very efficiently and very well. So I think it's just legit. Next one here is Jared Carthalion. It's 5-color. He's neat. And I really want to build around him, but he's kind of meh for a 5-color commander. I think everybody else just bought this deck, swapped him for the new Joda, because the new Joda is he's 5-color legendary cascade basically, and that just works so much more efficiently than this Jared. Sure, you make 3/3 Kavus for free, which is kind of neat, or for his uptick, and then -3, choose up to 2 target creatures, and then you put a counter on them equal to the number of colors it is, and those Kavus can get 5+1/+1 counters. So one turn you make a 3/3, and then the next turn you make it an 8/8. So that's pretty neat, and it's got trample. So I mean that's pretty cool. It's a little slow, especially for 5 colors. And then his -6, which you can activate the second turn he's out, by the way. Return target multicolored card from your graveyard to your hand. If that was all colors, draw a card and create 2 treasure tokens. So he's hard because it's like you do some really cool things with him, but he doesn't feel commandery, if that makes sense. He can make cool things, and then his ult isn't that impressive. So the card in your graveyard has to be multicolored. Returns to your hand. If that card was all colors, You draw a card and create 2 treasures. So it's like 1 card and then a couple stones. I'm like that's cool. And you can activate him the second turn. But really, like, what are you really getting out of that? He's kind of slow and kind of like meh. Really cool character. A little slow. Definitely swap for what is it, Dejada? Because Joda's just much more efficient for 5 colors. 5 colors is really hard. And again, really neat ideas, but definitely in the 99. I'm going to put him down in F tier because Joda's like an S tier definitely for 5 colors too. He's just constantly getting all those creatures out, and Jared here is just kind of like, one thing, it's bigger. Okay, that creature's dead. Okay, it's like, I don't know. You can get lots of things. These all colors. You can have all sorts of reactions and anything you want in it. But 5 colors is really hard to pull off. And so if you're going to do it, do something that's much more effective. That's why Golos was so good, is because he came out for super cheap, and then he just filtered through stuff really quick, and he searched for a land. And there's just so many things going on. But he's just like 1 thing a turn, kind of slow. I don't know. F tier for me. Little special edition here. We got all our Warhammer stuff came out next, and all of these were fantastic. The Inquisitor Greyfax, super fantastic. Other creatures you control get 1/0 and Vigilance, which that in and of itself is really great. And then you can pay 1 and tap her to tap target creature an opponent controls, and then you investigate. So you can kind of control the board a little bit, especially in blue and white. It's like tap her, untap her, tap her, untap her, untap her. And then you just tap their creatures down, and then you make it a clue for each of those, which draws you cards. And then you can attack, and all the things in your deck have vigilance, so you can just keep attacking with 0 concern for blockers, because they're always just there. Again, really awesome. I think there's something else in that deck that was either equal to that or a little slightly better or worse. I can't remember the other one in there. But I think she's awesome. She does her theme very well, very control-y, and just attacky and stuff like that. And so her herself, she can swing, and then she can tap after, which is even better. So yeah, put her in A tier. Very, very neat. Abaddon, the Death Spoiler. So 5/5 trample during your turn. You can cast spells from your hand with mana value X or less, and they have Cascade. And X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. I've heard Abaddon described as like a baby Yidris. Yidris gives you an extra color and just is much more efficient with the Cascade stuff, and it's not like controlled by how much life they've done, and things just have Cascade. Let's read Yidris, actually. I pulled him up. Yidris, 5/4 trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, you can cast spells from your hand this turn, and they gain Cascade. So I guess he does have to deal combat damage to a player. Blue makes it easy for him to be unblockable, and then just everything from your hand has Cascade. So that's pretty neat. Oops, where'd he go? There it is. But during your turn, cast spells from your hand, mana value X, that have Cascade. So he's pretty neat. I guess there's still, so is it loss of life or combat damage? Those are kind of the 2 things. But Yidris has that extra color, which makes it a little bit better, in my opinion. Abaddon is still really good. I've seen him in combat and stuff, and he's just casting things like crazy. And I do think Abaddon's really good. So I am going to put him in A tier. But notice Yidris is up here in S tier. Because Yidris has consistently been really good. The Swarmlord. 5/5 Tyrannid. And it enters the battlefield, 2 counters on it for each time you've cast it from the command zone this game. So first time you cast it, he enters as a 7/7. And then he enters as a 9/9. And then etc. And then whenever a creature you control with counters on it dies, you draw a card. Blue-green is definitely the best for +1/+1 counters. And then the extra red really helps. I think the Swarmlord is really awesome. I think he's a little bit hard to cast. At least if you're playing the Precon. The Precons are a little bit slow. But if you pump him up and or like ramp up really fast and really good, Yeah, I think Swarmlord's awesome. I think the X spell commander in there, the secondary one, is a little bit better. Because it's like a cool Hydra type theme, which is pretty legit. Swarmlord's a big body, big old beefy boy. And then if one of your creatures has counters on it when it dies, you draw a card. So that includes himself. I think the Swarmlord is a little lackluster in a way. That's like, you know how Nalia kind of does all the things all in one? The Swarmlord's just like big fat body and then you draw some cards. But then like, what are you going to do with that, you know? So the Swarmlord's a little bit lackluster in that way, even though really powerful. So I am going to put him B tier. Still really good. B is above average. A is great. And then S is just fantastic. So it's like, he's still above average, really good, but a little bit lackluster in that way. Last one from these is Sarek, the Silent King. He's a Necron, 3/4 with flying. Whenever Sarek, the Silent King, attacks, mill 3, and then you can put an artifact, creature card, or a vehicle from among them into your hand. So he's like a Sidisi kind of thing. You know, check out my Sidisi deck if you haven't. But whenever it attacks, you mill 3, so exactly what Sidisi does. And then you can put an artifact creature, or a vehicle from among the cards milled into your hand. Sidisi does a similar thing where whenever it attacks, you mill 3, and then if one of those was a zombie, you make a 2/2 zombie on the field for free. Similar in that way. Instead of making a free zombie, you get something back from your graveyard to your hand. So that's pretty neat. It's pretty awesome. But he does have to attack. He's a 3/4 flying, so I guess it's easier to attack because he's got the flying evasiveness. Really cool. Plus it's zombies, so if he dies, go to the graveyard, let's get him back, and then attack, and then mill him and get more zombies. This is pretty cool with the whole theme there. I think Sarek's pretty cool. But again, maybe not the best mono black commander. I don't know. There are better things. So that's what people tell me all the time with my Sidisi deck is like, why don't you just run Muldrotha? And I'm like, because I like Sidisi better, and everybody else runs Muldrotha. So I'm gonna do what I want to do. So I get that same feeling with the Necrons, but I'm gonna put him in B tier as well. Again, above average, very, very, very efficient. But he could be more efficienter. If that makes sense. There's a little bit of something to be desired. Moving on. Okay, so this section's a little bit wonky because these creatures were not Precon commanders before. They were just pre-existing creatures. And now they are Precon commanders. So we're just going to count them. So, yeah. First off, we've got Xperia, Supreme Judge. Xperia is great. 6/4 flyer. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, you can draw a card, and that counts for every single creature. So if somebody attacks you with 6 creatures, you're going to draw 6 cards. I think that's really cool. She's pretty hard to cast, though. Double white and double blue in the least rampy colors. So she's, I don't know, white's getting better. Blue has like no ramp. But lots of card draw, so like that makes up for it. But definitely better white-blue commanders. Yeah, like Kotori here. Kotori with vehicles, that's super awesome. I don't know, she's just a big creature that draws you cards. There's not much else to it. I don't know, so it punishes people for attacking you, which is hard because you're in blue-white, and so all your creatures are going to be relatively small. And so when things attack you, I don't know, you can't punish people for attacking you. You can't run stuff like Ghostly Prison because you want to draw the cards. So it's this really weird dynamic in blue-white. I don't know. I think she's neat. I don't know that she's the best. I'm going to put her in D tier. No, I'm going to put her in F tier because she belongs in the 99. I don't know why you'd run her as your commander. There are better things. I run her in my Sphinx deck. That's pretty cool. Extra turns, Madomai. Pretty cool. But anyway, she's much better in the 99. Giza and Geralf. This one's in my Sidisi deck. Look at that. When they enter, you mill 4. And then once during your turns, you can cast a zombie from your graveyard. You cast one zombie from your graveyard every turn, and then she can put zombies, I mean, I guess they can put zombies into your graveyard, potentially. I don't know, that's it. I think it's a pretty cool blue-black commander pair, but I definitely do think that Wilhelt, where'd Wilhelt go? Yeah, I definitely think that Wilhelt right here is much better commander for these decks, or for like a blue-black zombie deck. Gisa and Giralf are really cool because like how Wilhelt makes a zombie every time you mill a zombie or whatever. Actually, let's look up Wilhelt, because Wilhelt the Rot Cleaver. Because whenever another zombie you control dies, if it didn't have a decay, you put a 2/2 zombie with decayed on the battlefield. And then at the beginning of your end step, you can sacrifice a zombie to draw a card. So it's like this back and forth of like, I'm going to kill a zombie to make another zombie. Next turn, I can do it again, and I just draw a card. And he's got this back and forth thing that I think is really neat. But yeah, Gisa and Giraffe don't have that. It's just once a turn, you can cast one zombie from your graveyard, which is really good. But it's just one. I don't know. Wilhelt does it more efficiently, and then they themselves are not zombies. So it's a little bit harder. But Wilhelt is a zombie. So, I don't know. He can sacrifice himself, I think. Is it another zombie? There was another zombie. Okay, so it's not himself. But, you get what I'm saying. Wilhelt's much more efficient. Geese and Giralf need to be in the 99. I don't know. I guess they're fine. I'll put them in D tier. They're fine. You can run them. But, they're a little bit less efficient. Atraxa World Render. Here's another dragon one. And he's got flying and trample. And whenever another dragon you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. Green-red is a great dragon combo, in my opinion. There's not too many green dragons, but the green dragons they do have are really pretty good. And Atraxa himself is just so cool. Actually, is Atraxa a girl? I think Atraxa might be a girl. Anyway, Atraxa's awesome, and Atraxa's in basically every 5-color deck anyway. So all your dragons get double strike, which is so good. And she's a 6/4, just a big chunky dragon with double strike. It's 2 hits of commander damage from this, and you're dead. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Atraxa's a really, really good commander choice, I think, for green-red dragons. I'm going to put it up here in B tier, I think. Because it is 7 mana, so 7 mana. I guess it's green, so whatever. I don't know. B tier. But again, Dragon is always up here in S tier. So if you're going to run green-red dragons, I think this one's great. You have to attack. If Atraxa's not out, you're not... I guess you got dragons anyway, so that's pretty awesome. But in order to get the bonus, it's got to be out. It's pretty cool anyway. Kardur Doomscourge. Kardur is pretty dope. Whenever it enters, basically you quote-unquote goad all of your opponent's creatures. And whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So it incentivizes, or it doesn't incentivize, it forces your opponents to attack. And then you just get a bonus every time something dies. And then you're basically just sitting there, sitting pretty. And even if Kardur dies, all their creatures are still, quote-unquote, goated. And so they still can't attack you. So Kardur is awesome. And then in there, you can run the black instants or enchantments that say whenever this creature dies, you bring it back to the battlefield. Stuff like that. Or just, what is the one? The Blinky artifact. It's not Door of Destinies. It's the other one. Whatever that other door is, whatever it's called. Anyway, you can flicker it and then it comes back and then they just go all the creatures and then you kind of just sit there safe. I will say it's not good for a 3-player deck or for a 3-player game. Much better in a 2-player or a 4-player game. In a 3-player game is just basically, okay, nobody can attack me, you guys kill each other. And then that's not really too fun. That's again is divisive. The 4-player game is like everybody's attacking and everybody's trying to figure out how to deal with it. And then, Kardur is pretty awesome. I myself have a card draw deck. I want to put it in B tier. Above average for a deck. But it does have a lot of downsides. And it's a little bit boring at times, because you just, boom, do my thing, and then have a couple creatures maybe, and then everybody else attacks each other, and you kind of just sit there. So it's a little bit boring, and that's the only reason I'm bringing it down here, but at least it can be boring. At least the way I built it, it's a little bit boring. Maybe I'm just not good at building decks. Okay. We got Amara, Soul of the Accord. Whenever Amara, Soul of the Accord, becomes tapped, you create a white soldier with lifelink. I've seen Amara in play. Amara's really cool, really efficient. Out turn 2 and just tap, make a soldier, tap, make a soldier, tap, make a soldier. And you can manipulate that like crazy. And it's really cool. And then you can put things on her that's like, whenever she becomes tapped, you do X, like you make another thing, or, you know, whatever it is. And so, plus the tokens have lifelink, so you're gaining life. And then you can kind of control the board a little bit. That's a hard one to place. I think I might put her with B tier with the others, because she, like, all these three right here are like, they have a thing and they do that thing well, and then that's it. They don't like have anything else. These ones up here in S and A are like, they have a thing and then they add to the thing to make it better, if that makes sense, which I think is great. So yeah, there's going to go there. All right, so last ones for this video are going to be Exile, Scion of Atraxa, and Nayali, Sun's Vanguard. So both of these, I haven't seen much play. All of OB1 just came out. I don't know. I think I'll just make some predictions, I guess. But Flying Vigilance, Toxic 2. So this is a nice toxic theme. And lots of toxic in this set. So at the beginning of your end step, each opponent who has 3 or more poison counters exiles the top card of their library face down. And you may look at and play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. And you may spend a mana as or any mana of any color to cast those spells. Wow. Okay, well that's a lot. So Exile, an Abzan Steely commander. It's usually a blue, black, and red thing, but white, blue, and green, or white, black, and green, that's pretty, wow, that's neat. And you can like steal things from opponents. It's pretty cool. It's pretty annoying. Plus she's got Flying Vigilance and Toxic 2, so that's no fun. Just like as an added little bonus. I think that's cool. But again, like at the beginning of your end step, each opponent has 3 more poison counters. So you want to give opponents counters so they can steal stuff. And then, I don't know. So that's pretty neat. I don't know what else you're going to do with that. I guess it's your deck is almost halfway dependent on other people's decks. But even if you don't cast those things, you're getting rid of good cards from other people. Anyway, Exile's pretty cool. I don't know though. I'm just gonna put a C, because C to me is like average. Because it's like C's in the middle, AB is above it, and then D, F beneath it. So there's the 5. And then S is like, this is better than all of this stuff combined. But I don't know. That's how I see it. Just average, pretty neat Steely commander. It's pretty, I don't know, fantastic, I guess. I don't know. Nayali, Sun's Vanguard, Human Rebel. Rebels are great creature type. Attacking tokens you control have double strike, so you're not really running this in a normal rebel way. So that's interesting. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. During any turn you attacked with a token, you may play that card. So all your tokens gain double strike, so that's pretty neat. So you can't even play the exiled card unless you attacked with a token. That's another neat mechanic, but I think that should definitely be in the 99, because it's not that efficient. Because you have to attack, and then you exile the top card of your library, and then only during your second main phase can you play that card, and you might not even be able to play that card. So, I don't know. I don't think Naali's... I think it's a great in the 99 type of commander. I don't know. I'm going to put it in F tier because it leaves something to be desired. You can only cast one card from exile, and only if you meet the 2 stipulations. So, yeah, you have to attack with a token, and then it has to be on your second main phase. So if you don't have any tokens, you can't even activate it, and then tokens are useless if you don't have any tokens out. I guess the point is to make tokens, so you should always be attacking with tokens. But I don't know. Tokens are easy to get rid of, especially in red and white, where white has... I mean, they both can have some big tokens, but white and red are usually going to have, 1/1's goblins and 1/1 soldiers or warriors or birds or something. So it's like one little thing could just, like, one Anger of the Gods just basically kills most of your deck. So it's like, I don't know, it's another neat one that I think is really cool, but I think it could have been pulled off a little bit better. Leaves a little something to be desired. In the 99, fantastic card in there. All right, that's it for this year. Let me know what you guys think. What did I get wrong? I probably got things wrong. And what's hard about this is that everybody's got their own pet commander that's just fantastic in their brains, and me included. And so our vision is skewed. So it's hard to come up with these kind of ideas. But I don't. Let me know what you guys think. What you guys think I got wrong. But I mean, be kind about it. You know, this is just my opinions. So anyway, what do you guys think? Put it in the comments below, and make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss your weekly dose of magic.